news? Hold on, Gravy. What is it? Why is it that the trailer for a video has more views than the video? I'm not sure. Hold on. What? The glare bothers me. I was going to comment on the shirt. It's a nice shirt. Oh, thank you, Gravy. What is it? This is a shirt for How to Train Your Dragon, the best Dreamworks movie of all time.
What? No!
That is totally bogus. The best Dreamworks movie of all time is definitely Madagascar. I mean, come on, those animals can sing and dance.
Ye all be fools. The best Dreamworks movie be Sinbad. Or, a close second, The Road to El Dorado. Or, how about The Prince of Egypt?
What? Nobody even remembers the 2-day movies, Lucy. They're totally outdated.
Guys, don't tell me what be outdated, ye scallywag!
Oh, come on, you guys, stop fighting. This isn't something to get all mad about. Although, I would have to say the best Dreamworks movie was Shrek. I mean, come on, no one knew what Dreamworks was before that came out.
No, Madagascar is the best, especially with the circus one. Oh, so good. I just love it.
Die, come on over here and fight me. I shall make ye all walk the plank. Arr! Well, I personally prefer Kung Fu Panda.
Ugh, nobody asked you!
Guys,
Madagascar
y'all be having a terrible
Look at all the memes I made.
Enough! Gee. What are we gonna do? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get some facts and figure this out once and for all. We are. This is Movie Mondays.
Oh, man. Looks like we're gonna have to settle this. Jeez. So, with the release of a trailer for Trolls, I thought it only fitting to discuss Dreamworks films. And boy, does Dreamworks have quite a history. I mean, it's no easy feat to be competing against Disney in any way, shape, or form, but this company has definitely left its mark in many ways. It may not have as consistent of a run of good movies like Pixar does, but there are those films where you just look at them and are completely blown away. And when I think the best of Dreamworks, the first thing I usually think of is How to Train Your Dragon. The first and second How to Train Your Dragon contain breathtaking animation, stunning visuals, and a story so solid and heart-wrenching that it could easily be mistaken for Pixar. I can't begin to tell you how many arguments I got in with peers in 2010 when the first How to Train Your Dragon came out, because my peers kept saying, oh, it's Pixar. And then me, being the annoying film person that I am, had to retort with, no, it's Dreamworks! And at that point, I actually hadn't seen the film yet, so I didn't understand why people were confusing the companies. And then I actually saw the film. Wow. Just wow. I was actually stunned at the amazing quality coming from Dreamworks. Why don't they do that all the time? With that in mind, one may come to the conclusion that How to Train Your Dragon is possibly the best Dreamworks film of all time so far. And while I'm also quick to agree with that, I don't want to leave out Dreamworks' earlier films. You know, back when 2D animation was still all the rage, Dreamworks was cranking out some fairly decent flicks. So this will be a battle of DreamWorks' best, comparing films by critical review, box office revenue, and my own personal preference. And if there's anything on here that I left out that you felt needed to be on it, my apologies. I tended to look for the highest stuff. When people think DreamWorks, they tend to think these films in particular, or when they think good DreamWorks films, they tend to think these films in particular. I didn't want to put How to Train Your Dragon in the same category as B-movie, if you know what I'm saying. Let's start with some of DreamWorks' best 2D animated works. Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, and The Prince of Egypt. I mentioned Spirit because despite it not having the best reviews, it was a stunning work of animation. The landscapes were incredible, the expressions on the animals and the people were emotional, and the whole film definitely pulled you into the Wild West and the creatures that lived there. It made $122.6 million in US dollars, so both audiences and critics were half and half on this film. However, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was also a young girl in her loving horses phase when this movie came out, so that might have had something to do with it. And looking back on it, the one thing that kind of rips you away from the narrative are those background musical numbers that aren't really necessary. Still, the detail in the animation alone makes it one of DreamWorks' better films. Now let's look at a 2D film that is arguably the best adaptation of the Book of Exodus, The Prince of Egypt. This film did better with critics and box office revenue compared to Spirit, receiving a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes and earning $218.6 million US dollars. Once again, the animation in this film is breathtaking. And here is where the musical setting really works. The music numbers provide in-depth character and add more to the film than just kind of being there. But one of the best things in Prince of Egypt's favor is definitely the accuracy to the Book of Exodus. There is no whitewashing in this film, whatsoever. The characters are realistic and colorful, and that's the second great thing about this film, are the characters. Even if you know the story of Moses by heart, you can get emotionally invested in him in this film. You see him grow up in Egyptian royalty. You see his struggle between the family he knew his whole life and what he knows is the right path to take. And that is fantastic. Now, we have to go to the computer animated film that really kicked off DreamWorks. Shrek. No. Get the memes out of my face! Leave! No memes! The first Shrek received an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, which actually isn't that much better compared to The Prince of Egypt. In fact, comparing Shrek to Prince of Egypt, the critical reviews are very close. They both got around a 7 out of 10 on IMDb. However, the box office is what made the difference here. $484.4 million US dollars. That is twice of what Prince of Egypt made. Wow. Because personal preference, I would definitely prefer Prince of Egypt over Shrek. And while Shrek is a fun new twist on stereotypical fairy tales with fresh and entertaining characters, it's a bit, dare I say it, outdated. We still enjoy the film for the nostalgia purposes, but Smash Mouth. Just Smash Mouth. Kinda says a lot about the times. No! I said no memes! Go away! Okay, so Shrek wasn't the greatest. But it's hard to deny that Shrek II was definitely an improvement. Right? Critic-wise, it did not do as great as the first Shrek. It received an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes like the first one, but it only got a 7.2 on IMDb compared to the 7.9 that the first Shrek got. Once again, the box office made the impact. Shrek 2 made $919.8 million US dollars. That is over twice of what the first one made, and 8 times more than what Prince of Egypt made. That is crazy. Shrek 2 was definitely a phenomenon of its time, but has it lasted over the years? Well, it still has fantastic characters and an amusing story, but to me, this one didn't seem to have as much heart as the first one. It felt like it was kind of retelling the moral of it's what's on the inside that counts, only with more characters, more big-time stars, and more jokes. And does anyone remember that weird short after the film came out on DVD where all of the characters have a version of American Idol and Simon Cowell was on it? Truly, a marvel of the times. While Shrek has definitely made its mark, for better or for worse, I can't go on without discussing the Madagascar trilogy. I'm going to leave the Penguins movie off of this to discuss Madagascar more in depth at a later time. Let's look at all three of these films and see what the critics and the box office said. Madagascar didn't start off as anything great. It only received a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 57% on Metacritic, and a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb, which matched most of Dreamworks' average critic scores. However, this was a series that progressively got better. Madagascar 2 received a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Madagascar 3 got a 79%, so each movie was improving by about 10% according to the critics. Box office was similar, with the numbers going up by 100 million for each movie. Madagascar wasn't the greatest film series. It had its series of faults, but I can agree that each one did improve as it went on. I was actually fairly amused by Madagascar 3, and after seeing the first one, I hadn't expected to feel so invested in the characters. But similar to the Toy Story movies, Madagascar discusses something that everyone can relate to: growing up and moving on. The animals had outgrown their zoo, and it wasn't until they finally got back that they realized the zoo life wasn't for them anymore. Just the continued effort and progress on the characters and additions of new characters in each film really helped improve the series and made me grow to like Madagascar just a little more than before. And, of course, we can't forget about the Kung Fu Panda movies. Who would have ever thought that Jack Black voicing a squishy panda could be such a success? All three of the Kung Fu Panda movies averaged between 80 and 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Likewise, all three Kung Fu Pandas kept a box office around $600 million US. Once again, we see new Dreamworks films slowly improving, with trilogies averaging around similar numbers. And boy, did these films surprise me. Not only were they visually interesting, that art style, I just love it, but they were also compelling, especially Kung Fu Panda 2. It was quirky, and you definitely got that Jack Black vibe with Poe's character, but it's balanced with these stunning and unique visuals that have become distinct to the Kung Fu Panda movies. I can go on forever about these visuals. I just love them. Absolutely love them. And going back to discussing the second film, the villain in that one, it's perfect. That peacock just emits evil and elegance, and to emphasize this, it's just awesome. Now what you've been wanting to hear about. How to Train Your Dragon. The first one had significantly higher critical acclaim, earning a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's nearly a perfect 100. It's pretty hard to beat a close to a 100 score. How to Train Your Dragon 2 got a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not as great as the first one, but still a very high rating, and it made $621.5 million US. Definitely reaching higher box office numbers compared to the first one. Based on those numbers alone, it's easy to see the higher praise from the critics, and I can certainly list the reasons why. As usual, the animation is stunning. Those amazing visuals we saw in The Prince of Egypt and Spirit definitely got transferred here. With the added enhancement of computers, we are instantly immersed in this world, especially for anyone that got the chance to see either film in 3D. These are films that work with 3D theaters wonderfully. And then we have the characters. These characters are still fun and quirky, but they're so much more down to earth compared to previous Dreamworks features. We still get funny moments and unusual characters that we would get with Shrek, Madagascar, and Kung Fu Panda, but it was balanced out to be an addition to the films and not the main focus. And perhaps the biggest thing about How to Train Your Dragon, especially in the first one, that sold me on it more than any other Dreamworks film, is that it shows, not tells. We don't get heavy dialogue explaining Hiccup's process in understanding Toothless and being able to train the dragons. We see it. We see the initial conflict as Hiccup and Toothless learn how to coexist and eventually move as one force. And it's all done with beautiful background music to emphasize the progress. Every interaction with Hiccup and Toothless has very little dialogue since the dragon can't talk, which leaves Hiccup attempting to use movements to figure out how to understand an animal that no one has ever seen before, and that's powerful. Because one of the biggest things in storytelling that I learned when I was first learning simple writing back in grade school is they tell you to show and not tell. And so many times we just tend to tell that we kind of forget how powerful showing can be until we actually see it. And it works amazing. So, based on the critical reception, the box office profits, and my own personal opinion, I would have to say that How to Train Your Dragon, the first How to Train Your Dragon, is the best Dreamworks film thus far. We've seen them be able to do great things. We know that Dreamworks has the talent to do this amazing stuff. And it would be really awesome to get more solid films like How to Train Your Dragon in the future. Have every Dreamworks film be as solid as How to Train Your Dragon, or as lovable as Kung Fu Panda, and as mythical. Just keep working on that. They're getting there. Keep doing it, guys. You're doing a great job. You just need more of it. And that is it for this Movie Monday. I hope you enjoyed that giant rant on comparing Dreamworks films. I know it was a lot of fun for us personally to look into that and see how every film worked and how to compare them. And it turned out every time I kept writing this, I would forget something, be like, no, I need to mention that. No, I need to mention that. So, yeah, Dreamworks has had a really good lineup in the past decade. I hope they keep up the good work. So, if you want to see more Movie Mondays, you can click on a link below. We'll have that down there to see the previous Movie Mondays. We'll also leave links below down for our other shows as well. And if you want, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this craziness. What do you want, Chester? Wait, please don't tell me. Somebody once told me the world was gonna throw me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. I don't remember the rest of the words, but it doesn't matter because this tune gets stuck in your head. Why are you guys watching the videos over? I'm just making time go. Woo, woo. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on. Don't play.